I'm asking you right now, why is it that the Israeli government is pushing back so hard when that language, the 67 lines with agreed swaps, is exactly what has been used as the template for U.S. policy in the past? What is new about it?
Well, I know this may sound like arcane diplomacy to you, Elliot, a little picayune, but if you read that statement slowly, you'll see that the United States believed, according to that statement, that through good faith negotiations, the Palestinian goal of an independent state based on the 1967 borders could be reconciled with Israel's goal of a secure and recognized Jewish state of Israel. So what was previously couched as a Palestinian goal has now been reframed as America's position.
Now, I'm not sure I agree with you in terms of the syntax of that statement, Ambassador. I think we'd have to dig a little more deeply. I've read the statement very carefully, but the issue of swaps has been integral to what the United States has been saying for years, and that's why I think everybody in the United States government is saying this is not a fundamental shift. Why are you causing such a kerfuffle about something that really has been integral to what we've been saying for years? And that's the question for you.
Well, I'm just going to have to give you the same answer again. What was previously a Palestinian position has now been adopted as an American position, and the possibility then arises that we would be asked in some way to go back to the 67 borders, which we regard as indefensible, and borders that have invited wars in the past, they haven't prevented wars, and borders that would leave very large numbers of our citizens beyond our borders.
Let me ask you this question then. Even if there was this possible syntactical analysis of the sentence that would say maybe it's a little different, the thrust of the president's speech, where he said with great clarity that the Fatah-Hamas alignment made it unacceptable to expect Israel to negotiate with the Palestinian Authority, where he rejected the Palestinian effort to go to the United Nations and seek recognition at the current moment. All of those were hugely important things that the president said on behalf of Israeli security. Why not embrace those and say, thank you, Mr. President, this is why you are our single most important ally in the world?
Well, I think that's just what I just said, Elliot. We welcomed and appreciated the president's position on the pact between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. It's clear that everything we're talking about in terms of negotiations, whether, about the 67 borders or any other aspect of the negotiation, is now couched in hypothetical terms, because the ball is very much in the Palestinians' court. They have to make a decision now. Whether they stick with this pact with a terrorist organization that just only a few weeks ago fired a missile at a school bus along the Israeli border, killed a 16-year-old child, an organization that condemned America's action against bin Laden and hailed him as an Islamic holy warrior. This is Hamas. The Palestinian Authority has to make a choice between a pact with that terrorist organization or negotiating peace with us. And this is a position which is a very strongly held one by the Obama administration. We share it and we appreciate it.
And Mr. Ambassador, that is exactly right. And I ask you then, just as a matter of raw politics, why not have those issues, which you just articulated so well, be the single focus of the public discourse rather than a very arcane potential disagreement about whether the 67 borders with swaps had or had not been embraced as the foundation for the initiation of negotiations? It just seems to me what you have done is overwhelmed so much in that speech that was critically important for Israel's security and brought us back to a focus on the area of disagreement between two incredibly close allies.
Well, I think it may seem arcane to you, but for us it's a matter of national security. I live in southern Jerusalem with my family. We live in an area that was part of pre-1967 Israel, but the area beyond what was the Jordanian armistice border in 1967 begins 50 yards down our street. We won't be just in rocket range, we'll be within pistol range. And so for us, that arcane issue, as you stated, is a matter of the life and death of our families. And it's not just Israel made a big deal of it. If you look at the headlines of all the major papers today, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they all headlined the 1967 border change. So it's not just us. But having said that, again, there are parts of the speech we very much appreciated, and I think that the tenor of the discussion between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Obama today showed the degree that these two leaders cooperate. The discussion went on twice as long as it was supposed to. There was a private lunch between the President and the Prime Minister. They spoke on the White House lawn for about a half an hour afterward. I was there when the President threw his arm around Benjamin Netanyahu and said, "Goodbye, my friend." The tenor was not what much of it was depicted in the press.
Well, look, I